Have you ever wondered if Apple finally made a mistake with one of its new iPhones? Every September, when a fresh lineup comes out, excitement usually skyrockets. People rush to place pre-orders, websites crash, and delivery dates get pushed back weeks, sometimes months. But this time, something feels off, and all eyes are on the new iPhone Air. Could this be the first iPhone in years that fails to take off? On paper, the iPhone Air sounds like a dream. It's light, it's slim, and it's Apple's attempt at offering something different from its usual Pro and Pro Max models. But here's the catch: early pre-orders suggest that people aren't exactly lining up for it. In fact, demand for the iPhone Air looks far weaker compared to the iPhone 17, 17 Pro, and 17 Pro Max. That's unusual, especially for a brand new type of iPhone. Normally, Apple's fresh ideas create massive demand, but this time, the numbers are telling a different story. If you go to Apple's official US website right now, you can still pre-order the iPhone Air in multiple storage options and colors. Apple even promises that if you buy one today, you'll get it on September 19th, the official launch date. That's great news for buyers, but not such great news for Apple's investors. Why? Because usually when delivery dates don't slip, it means demand isn't as strong as expected. Compare that with the iPhone 17 Pro Max, where most versions already have shipping estimates pushed back by 3 to 4 weeks. That's the classic sign of a hit product. Even Tim Cook himself has been talking a lot about the iPhone Air in recent interviews, hyping it up indirectly while discussing Apple's investments in the US. But if you read between the lines, it almost feels like Apple is pushing harder than usual to convince people this phone is worth buying. And that raises the question, if the Air is really selling well, why does it need so much extra attention? Now, to be fair, we don't have official sales figures yet, and Apple may never break them down by model. What we do have is the analysis from well-known insider Ming-Chi Kuo. He looked at Apple's first weekend pre-orders and found that the iPhone Air is already falling behind the rest of the lineup. Sure, some Air models show 2 to 3 weeks for shipping, but that still pales in comparison to the Pro models, which are harder to get. And far too many Air configurations are still available for day one delivery. That simply doesn't happen with Apple's most successful launches. There's also a chance Apple tried to get ahead of this. Reports suggest that Apple built 3 times as many iPhone Air units as it did iPhone 16 Plus units last year. That's a huge increase. But was it smart planning, or was it overconfidence? Think about it. How could Apple perfectly predict demand for a brand new type of iPhone with no real history to back it up? The Pro and Pro Max models are safe baits. They've been bestsellers for years. The Air, however, is untested territory. Some believe Apple is intentionally limiting stock of the iPhone 17 and Pro models to create the illusion of overwhelming demand, while making the Air seem readily available. If true, that's a risky strategy, because while the illusion might work in the short term, the truth always comes out in long-term sales numbers. And if those numbers disappoint, it won't just hurt the Air's reputation, it could hurt the iPhone brand as a whole. So when should Apple panic? Some would argue that moment has already arrived. We saw something similar last year with the iPhone 16 Plus. Critics called it a flop, and while it wasn't as bad as people said, it also wasn't a hit. Poor marketing and lack of interest made it fade quickly. And now, it feels like the iPhone Air could be heading down the same path unless Apple figures out how to turn things around. At the end of the day,